I think the familiarity of these other social media platforms that we've been using for years now just kind of keeps people in, and
Yeah.
we've built up such a repertoire to people on those platforms that it's hard
Yeah.
to like be like, hey, follow me also on this one over here where I'm going to be posting the same stuff but on an unfamiliar platform that nobody's ever heard of.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to Hot Glue and Bobby Pins, a podcast for cosplayers, by cosplayers, and anyone who wants a look inside at the lives of people who make things and post about it on the internet.
So as we're approaching 1 year of this little thing called a global pandemic, we thought that we would chat a little bit about social media, what the platforms have been up to this past year, and how that's affecting our brains.
Because it definitely is affecting the brains.
Yeah, it really is, like, to say the least. So I guess we could start out with a little question submitted by my lovely friend, or our lovely friend, Jedi Amanda. She asks if we could get rid of one social media platform. Which one would it be, and which one would you keep if you could only keep one?
Ooh. I would definitely get rid of. Wow, I thought that was going to be easier. Probably Facebook. Although, like, I don't dislike Facebook. It'd probably be Facebook. I just feel like it's not as impactful as
Yeah,
the other ones. And then if I could only keep one, I love Instagram, man. I wish they would stop doing us wrong. It
yeah,
would be
for
Insta.
real.
What about you?
So I would probably boot Facebook as well. That was my first thought.
Yeah.
It just seems like, I don't know. Like, it's hard. I don't want to say like, oh, the audience on Facebook isn't as involved or whatever, but
They're not.
um yeah, it's I don't get much interaction on there at all. And sorry, my watch is messing up. um
Oh, you're good.
but yeah, even though I have the biggest audience on Facebook, it doesn't seem like it does anything. Like, it doesn't do any good. And
Yeah.
like, and I post the same things that I do on Instagram. But if I could only keep one, like, I want, like, my first inclination is to say Instagram, just because I mean, maybe the old Instagram. but
Hmm.
but as we know now, the old Instagram can't come to the phone right now.
No, no.
But
It's so sad. It's
yeah,
true.
I know. But so I don't know, because Twitter's fine. Like, I like Twitter for certain reasons, but Instagram, maybe I would just keep as like a photo diary, because that's kind of what I like to use it for. Like, I like to post pretty pictures
Yeah.
and look at pretty pictures. So that would probably be my answer.
Just Does Twitch count as one? Because is that social media, or would you
I
consider
don't
that? Because it's like
know.
YouTube, I would never have considered it social media, but now you have like shorts on there, you can do posts.
Oh my
So
gosh.
now YouTube is like a social media.
Yeah, it's like turned into one. And everything is just trying to be everything else. It's just nuts.
I think that's my problem with social media right now. Is it used to be like there was a dedicated space, everything had its place,
Yeah.
as a creator, you had dedicated places for certain things, like Instagram, like you said, it's like a photo diary of the things that you do, and now everything's just a mess. Thanks,
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah. Thanks, TikTok. Everyone's trying to copy you. Because,
Yeah,
like, now Twitter has those, like, story things too that I don't know who uses, but it's like they
I
want you
just
to.
copy the ones from my Instagram
Oh, yeah. I
and
keep
put them.
forgetting. I forget that it exists, because I'm just like,
Yeah,
every platform has something that you have to put on it, like, in three different places, in like three different formats. So it's hard to do it. And then if you put the same thing on every platform, do people just like see it and they're just like, oh, I've already seen this? Like, she's posting the same thing over and over again. I don't know. It's hard.
yeah. Well, and
But
then that depends so much on like your audience. So
true.
I don't know. We'll get into it so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. There's a lot. So I guess we could talk about our growth or non-growth over the year. So how have your social medias grown? Which ones have grown more? Which ones have, like, shrunk, if any? I guess. And Like, have you had like the same patterns all across your social medias, or are some growing and some shrinking or being
It's
stagnant?
like I definitely think that it's been weird for that, for me at least. Like before 2020, everything was growing kind of consistently, and something I don't know. Obviously, the world changed and the way we use social media changed last year. But it's like for most of last year, I was rolling backwards on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm still up, so I'm in the positive. But it's like if I gain 300 followers in a week, I only gain 20 of them, basically, because of those
Yeah.
unfollows we're all experiencing. And I know a lot of people say like they're bots and things like that, but I have so many people who will like message me and be like, oh my God, I was following you. I don't know what happened. And I'm like, I know what happened. Instagram happened. And then Facebook grew the most. So last year when they opened Facebook in different countries, like they I can't remember the full story, but basically Facebook became accessible to new countries and they really started pushing like recommending pages. And that I grew from like 70,000 to 129,000, but now it's slowly rolling back, you know? So again,
Yeah.
kind of like Instagram, where if I gain 100 followers, I probably only actually gain about 10 of them. And then I notice a lot of people who like my mom she's not really unfollowing me, but it's like unfollowing my page for her because it's deciding it's not the content they think she wants to see. Which I don't know, that annoys the crap out of me when social media make those decisions for us.
Yeah.
And then Twitter has grown too, but in Twitter's in a different way. I just feel like so across the board, I would say I've got positive growth, but there's still a lot of loss in there,
Yeah.
more than ever. And I just don't understand what the social medias are doing in that regard. So net positive for the last year, but it should have been like quadruple what it is. So that kind of bums me out.
Yeah.
But I should just be thankful for what I do have. What about you?
So
I see you
the
keep jumping back and forth on Instagram. You and a couple others on Instagram.
yeah,
That I just don't think that's real.
it's so weird. Yeah, because well, okay. So I haven't really seen much of any growth, like cumulative growth on any platform except for Twitter.
Yeah.
That's the only one that consistently grows. But it's been pretty slow. Like I usually would jump up like 500 people per month, but
Mhm.
last month it was like 100 and then the month before was like 200. So it's like really slowing down. I had one big jump when the my Keyleth picture kind of took off a little bit there. I got a lot, but after that, it just kind of like slowed way, way down. Like right after that substantial growth, my like each month after that, it was like 100 or 200 people. Um, and Instagram, yeah, Instagram, I haven't had any cumulative growth in like 3 years. Like I've been at 112, like between 110 and 112 for the past like 3 years or so. 2 years, or no, maybe 2 years. Because I know in January of 2018, I think it was 2018, I jumped up to like 115, but I slowly went back down to 110 over the course of the year. It's really strange. And then this year it was like I went up a little bit after I did that Wormwood giveaway, but then it went back down. So I don't really know what's happening there.
Yeah,
I mean, I kind of do, but we'll talk about it later.
annoying.
And then Facebook,
Yeah.
I've gone up and down. I don't know. Like my paid platforms, those are probably a whole different thing. Those aren't like super like social media, but those are, I guess, are a whole other subject. But yeah, I guess mine are either being stagnant or growing a tiny bit, I guess.
Yeah. But I guess if you didn't have the unfollows, then you'd be growing. That's part of what
Yeah.
blows my mind. And I'm sure we're going to discuss that. But I mean, how difficult must that be for a creator just getting started who gets a really
Yeah.
cool boom and they're super pumped about it. And they're like, wow, I finally hit 1,000 followers and they lose 200. Oh
Exactly.
my
I know.
God.
And I know like some people might say like, well, at least you have 100,000 or however many followers. Like you should be grateful for what you have. And I'm like, we are, but
Yeah.
everyone, regardless of size, can experience the same feelings about stuff. So like
Well,
even
because
if
the
somebody,
goalpost moves, right? It's like,
yeah, like if you have 1 million followers and you lose like 1,000 or whatever here and there, that can still, like, that still sucks. Like, just because you have a bigger amount doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you stop wanting more, because people are greedy and we always want more. So
It's the
like,
nature of social media.
yeah, like
Like that
as you
that's
grow, you just want more growth. And I think it's okay. Like, I think it's fine. But
I do
I
too. I think
guess,
as long as it's not damaging your mental health.
yeah, which is the paradox here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dun, dun.
Um, yeah. So I guess I wrote down in my notes, like, maybe some ideas on, like, why all of this is happening, which obviously
Okay.
the almighty algorithm is one of them. But um, I just kind of wanted to explore, like, just some ideas, maybe play some devil's advocate kind of stuff, maybe.
Oh
So
yeah, I'm into that.
the first one that I had is there being such an oversaturation in a time when everyone's online. Everyone, well, not everyone, but there's an uptick in online businesses, online content creators, new people coming onto the platforms every day. And with this past year, we've got more people staying at home, more people bored and wanting to find something to do. And plus, just like the growing popularity of cosplay in general, I just think there's just more and more people
Yeah.
flooding in, which is great. But I just wonder if, because there are so many options, that maybe the people, the fans, followers are more like spread out. I don't know, which I never really understood, because, well,
Maybe.
maybe it can be harder to find people, like harder to find new people, because there are so many people. Your
Yeah.
picture might not show up as often as it would have a couple of years ago on, like, the explore page or something.
Well, and the social media platforms, I would argue Facebook's doing a better job of this, but they're not doing a great job of using their recommended features at
No.
all. Like they're certainly not like rallying for the creators on their platform. See, I thought when there was like you said, the influx last year of content creators, and more so than ever because everyone's at home, so a lot of people decided to shoot their shot, and a lot more people were online using the internet. I really expected to see like that as a net positive for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like people have got more time to scroll now, so they can consume more. But yeah, maybe the amount just simply outweighed that. I just think that these platforms that are mining our data and
Mm.
using us to pay for the platform, oh everybody a little bit better explanation on the algorithms and how they work, and like we're
Yeah.
going to discuss, like to not ask so much of the
Mm-hmm.
people on their platforms, because
Yeah.
ultimately if someone's scrolling April Gloria's feed, like the people who follow you, who come to your social medias to see your content, like those views and clicks are yours.
Mm-hmm.
You provided those for that platform. So whether that's 10 or 10 million click throughs, like I just feel like they should treat us better.
Yeah.
Because
Don't just tweet about it and say, we support small businesses. And be like, really? Do
yeah,
you? Do you actually,
LOL.
though?
Do you though?
Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think the platforms need to start pulling their weight.
Yeah, and there's
um,
so much they can do. There's no excuse for not,
yeah.
to be honest. Like,
Yeah, if they
uh,
want to keep people on their platforms, then they need to make it more desirable to be on their platforms. But I guess maybe they know they've got us in, like, a chokehold.
well, yeah, they
But
know how. I mean, content creation is such a viable career that so many people are pursuing and
yeah,
doing. Not everybody's making $1 million doing it, but the amount of people who can pay their bills and do it full time is crazy
yeah, it
now.
really is. Like,
And
if
they could argue to some extent that that wouldn't exist without them, and that's true too. I think the word you used earlier, paradox, is exactly the word. That's where we're trapped in this whole thing.
so another thing that I might play devil's advocate on is, maybe, like, I wonder sometimes, I mean, I feel this way about myself, but, like, maybe the content that a collective we, I'm saying, not pointing at any certain person, maybe the content that we're creating just is not keeping up with what is trendy these days, or
Oh yeah,
it's not what people want anymore, and we maybe are hesitant to move on and evolve past what we really want to make, and maybe just like, I don't know, like sometimes I wonder, like, is my style of content creation just not it anymore? Like that's just, it just doesn't go with what's popular these days. So like, everyone's trying to do reels, like everyone says you must do video, you must do like really gimmicky short form content, like gimmicky not in like a negative sense, but like maybe more like meme style content. And like just the really stylized like big production cosplay shoots, just they don't do well anymore. I mean, for me,
They
maybe
don't.
for others they do. I don't know. But yeah, so sometimes I wonder if maybe I'm just being left behind because I'm crotchety and refuse to move on.
You are not. I think that can be I agree and disagree with that, like devil's advocacy, because on one hand, like doing trendy stuff is the ticket to reach to some extent for sure. But I think that there's just so much content to consume right now. And I like big production cosplay photos haven't done for me as well as like selfies and mirror photos for years.
Yeah.
So for some time, I've always kind of thought of those photos as, they're like images that I do for me or for promotional purposes to showcase my work. They're certainly not going to like get a ton of reach. But I don't know, because I think that if we worry about just doing what's trendy, we can also lose our audience there because it's not genuine. Like evolving is important, but I think like evolving into our brands and into like, I love your content, like the brand that is April Gloria. I think that it's just finding, like you said, there's so many people online right now, so it's finding the pool of people who you appeal to and your content appeals to. Can definitely feel a little bit harder. Which is why I think, and I've been saying this forever in my like workshops I do, but like it's just wildly important to be, which you are, like, and I am, we're genuine online. We are who we are always. And that's important because like that's what people, that you want people to connect with you, not just your content. Because when they're connected with us, our content can evolve and change. And maybe it's not always trendy, but they'll still be interested. Hopefully. It's just not as cut and dry as it used to be. Social media used to be so like, to some extent, like cut and dry. Like you do this and this happens.
Right.
And,
like and now post, you like, post your cosplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
you post your cosplay, people find you, use your hashtags. That's it.
Yeah. And now there's that formula Instagram released. What is it? Like 3 reels a week, X amount of posts a week.
It's like 3 to 4 reels. Like 3, I should have probably brought that up or whatever, but it's like multiple reels a week, multiple posts a week, and like 1 to 2 IGTV or lives or something. And it's too much.
They're asking that's my biggest problem is like that with these platforms, like that Instagram doing that proved to me what they think of us. They think we work for them.
Yeah.
Basically. And I also to find out that Instagram representatives went directly to agencies who sat down on a phone call with big creators and told them first and helped them work through it and did like a Q&A with them. Like, whoa. But you can do a video like that for the rest of us?
Yeah, like why wouldn't they do like a public seminar or something like that, or make their own IGTV video?
Yeah.
It kind of seems a little bit unfair of them to just be like, okay, we're telling these select few like elite people who have agents, and the rest of you guys, who cares?
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Because they perceive them as making them like the most money.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, maybe we could all make the most money if you made the playing field a little bit more level.
Everyone would benefit from a level playing field. So the social dilemma, they discuss removing the algorithm that like handpicks things, because that's part of it too, is like I recently learned that I basically need to remake my whole TikTok if I want TikTok to work for me, because your first 5 posts are the most important, and like they dictate where you go. Supposedly, this is what I was told by some big TikTokers. And so I'm just like, so I need to delete my whole account, is what you're telling me. Like, and like there's these echo
Yeah.
chamber algorithms. And so like if you don't get in people's algorithm the right way, if you're not in the realm of their preferred content, even if they love you and your content, they're not going to see it. And that the social dilemma,
Oh
they
my
talk about
gosh. That's
removing
just,
that algorithm, and they should. I really think it should go away.
I mean, that's just so silly though. Like, why would your first, like, how many people have made an account on TikTok right when the app came out and just didn't do anything with it? And now they're just like, oh, maybe I'll try TikTok. But they've already posted like 2 kind of just like random videos on there. It's unfair to just say, oh, that's it.
Yeah. But I mean, and I get it. They're like businesses, so they can choose to do like whatever they want, I guess. But it's like, you want
Yeah.
more users to use the platform and to enjoy the platform and people to grow and create content on your platform. Why are we putting up so many obstacles?
I know. It's almost like they're playing just some kind of sick game with us.
Yeah. I often wonder if they, like, the platforms respect creators as like, do they see it as a viable job, or do they think it's trendy fad thing that will go away?
I don't know. So we had a little bit of a technical issue. So if there's a hard cut right there, that's why. But I think
We're
next we're
back.
going to chat about alternative social medias. Because I feel like every couple months or so, there's always a new social media that someone's like, oh, well, this is going to be where you should go if you want to get away from the current social media platforms like Instagram. And I feel like sometimes they catch on really well for a while and then people just suddenly stop using them. So, why do you think
Yeah.
that is?
I think that we're all in an abusive relationship with Instagram. And we need an intervention. I just feel like
We do.
it's scary, right? There's billions of people on Facebook and Instagram, and hundreds of millions on, I don't know the exact number for Twitter, but I know like on Facebook there's something like 7, or not 7, like I think it's like 5 billion active profiles, or 4 billion, something crazy. So like
Wow.
that is enticing. Like the opportunity for my content to be seen by people who may love it and that may be right up their alley for the content they want is huge. Whereas when we talk about like Vero is one that like I popped off and then kind of didn't pop off and had all that trouble, but like there's just not as many users on Vero, so it doesn't feel as enticing to go there. And then you don't want to stop. For me, I don't want to stop posting on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter because those are where most of my people are. So then you're asking me to add in another social media, like completely separate. Like it just
Yeah,
feels overwhelming. But I think
it
with
is.
apps like Later and stuff now, like we should try harder to do that. Because those social medias will never blow up or do well if we don't give them a shot. But for me, it just feels like a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, another one. What about you?
I feel the same. Like I was on Vero for a little bit and then I feel like everyone collectively went on it and then everyone collectively left. Not everyone, but and I would post on there like every couple months whenever I remembered that it existed. And like it was a good idea, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the familiarity of these other social media platforms that we've been using for years now just kind of keeps people in, and
Yeah.
we've built up such a repertoire to people on those platforms that it's hard
Yeah.
to like be like, hey, follow me also on this one over here where I'm going to be posting the same stuff but on an unfamiliar platform that nobody's ever heard of. And it's hard to get
Yeah.
people to switch. So it's like you feel like you're just talking to the wall or something when you post on other social media apps because there's not many people there and you want to reach as many people as
Well, and you just said
possible, I guess.
yep. Well, and something you just said is really like exactly like kind of the point. It's like they already see the content on Instagram. What would entice them to go to a separate social media they're not already on? Well, the best bet there would be to create completely different content for that social media. But then that's like adding a whole nother job to your job.
Yeah, it's true. Well, even like I know YouTubers that are also on Instagram talk about this because so they have to film for YouTube in a certain way and then they film for Instagram, like they'll have separate videos on their IGTVs, then they'll also have TikToks, and then they'll also have Reels, and then they also have YouTube Shorts, which is basically the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's just each social media platform becomes its own job pretty much to keep up with. And with
Yeah.
the posting guidelines and everything, it's like it just takes up all of your time. Like it could take up a whole day doing video content across all your platforms. And if you have to do that
Yeah. For
every
one day
day,
worth
every
of
other
content.
day, yeah. And with like the reach situation, like who knows if you're gonna reap the benefits that you want from it.
Well, there's a good question because I know how I feel about this. If reach was more fair and easier to come by because the algorithms were changed, would you be more likely and more willing to spend the time creating different content for all the different platforms if all of them moved to a place where reach was more fair? Do you think that would
Yeah.
entice you?
I
Yeah.
think I would. Yeah,
Me
because
too.
I don't know. Like I get excited about sharing certain things. I like sharing work in progress photos. Like I like showing people the process, but I know that I'm going to get 200 likes on that post. So it's just
Yeah.
like why am I here? Or like the photo
Yeah.
sets that we did, like I was upset after we did those Keyleth and Vex photos because they turned out really well and I spent all that time editing them, adding like little special effects and
Yeah.
stuff, and they didn't do well at all on Instagram. Like my selfie of
Meanwhile,
Keyleth
that little
went kind of more viral on Twitter, but then when I posted the finals that
yeah.
looked way better, they didn't. And it made me really upset
Yeah. I
because,
was bummed about that too
yeah, it's like
because the
disappointing.
little selfie we did.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Man. I know. That's why, because I wanted to do a first look because I'm like, oh, I'm excited. I got this costume done. I did the makeup test and it looks good. And I was happy that it did well. And I was like, oh, good. Then people are going to be extra excited for when the pro photos come out. And
Yeah.
by then, everyone was just over it. Like, I think
Yeah. And
I was going to say, I think that these social media platforms are training people to have the shortest attention spans to in like known demand. It's wild. It's
yeah.
wild.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that little selfie video we did of us, like just you like popping out behind me,
Yeah.
that did better than any of the photos. And I think it's because like our photos have a lot in them to digest. Like you look at
Yeah.
them, the setting, our costumes, the expressions, like people just don't spend as much time anymore inspecting the photos you put. They're looking
Yeah.
for quick because any video I do of just my face going like real fast does miles better than like a
Gosh.
costume that I spent weeks working on and then I try not to be like salty about it because you know it's the
Yeah.
way it is, but I 1000% can understand why some people get so frustrated and then it ends up affecting mental health stuff. Like we're so tied to these things. And
Yeah.
I think that what I'm trying to do is get into a mindset of there are things that I post just to basically to like build out my portfolio. So kind of like you're saying about like your work in progress stuff. Like not many people are going to see it, but I suppose if a company or someone were to come by to check out your work, it's there.
Yeah.
Because I think most companies are moving away from worrying about those numbers too much now too, because they see what's happening.
Yeah. Which is good. But I don't know. Like my viewing style, I guess, is just so opposite of what does well, I guess. Like
Yeah,
when I look at photos, like I want to zoom in and see everything. Like I appreciate a really well like I don't know, just a really well done photo. And I love seeing work in progress pictures. Like if I see a costume that I would either want to make or that it like just looks really good, I'll go to the person's profile and like scroll down to see where their progress pictures are. And a lot of times they don't
Yeah.
have any. I'm just like, well,
Yep.
okay, I guess. Like some people have them in their stories, but then it's like you have to like click through like 800 little stories to see like the part of the costume that you want to see it, like how they make it. And
Yeah.
it's just a really, I don't know. Like I know I'm not in the majority, I guess, but it's just interesting. And I kind of feel like I have a longer
Oops, sorry.
attention span anyway. Like I can hyper fixate on things for a long time, like a really long time. It takes me a long time to get tired of stuff. And so like seeing people only wanting like 2-second videos with zero substance, it frustrates me. And I'm just like, man, I don't know. And it's fine. Like I know that everyone's brains
Yeah.
work
Well, I mean,
differently, but I don't know.
I think it's okay to be frustrated by that though. I think that like that makes, I mean, it just they social media has engineered the way we consume things, whereas like 2 years ago, like if you went to April Gloria's Instagram to look at her stuff, you're there to look at all of the stuff. And I don't
Yeah.
know that people even really go out of their way to go to profiles much anymore.
Yeah.
I don't find myself doing that as much as I used to.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people who really doesn't post any work in progress just because they tend to do so bad.
Yeah.
And so I think of that as like exclusive Patreon content, but then, you know, there's people who follow me or like companies who don't know that I even make my stuff because
Yeah.
I can't. That's why I made the Sophie Makes Instagram. I have no intention of trying to grow a following there or anything. It's basically just like overflow, like, here's the things. Um, it's
That's a good
so
idea.
interesting trying to figure out like navigate social media in this day and age. Like they've just made it so complicated. Like it's this maze and we have to figure out like which path is the way to all of the reach because they basically like they're like, here's the reach, it's here, you can have it as long as you abide by our rules.
Yep. Yeah. I feel like it's really it takes a toll after a while. um so yeah, maybe we can start the mental health chat because that's gonna be great. We can
Yeah.
talk about all of our feelings.
All of our feels. I have a lot of feels about social media.
Yes.
I've always loved, I still am a proponent of social media. I love social media. I'm glad it exists. I do think ultimately it's more good than bad. But for somebody who like goes around telling everyone else, like, don't tie your self-worth to your numbers, I do a really shit job of that.
I think
Really bad.
everybody does. Like
Yeah.
I see so many posts that are just like, you are worth more than your numbers. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to not post on social media for a week. You've earned it. Go take a bubble bath and drink some wine or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know. It's trained you to tie your worth into your numbers because
Yeah.
in some ways you are tied to your numbers because the more numbers you have, the more people that you have to potentially join your paid sites. And we are our product pretty much, or our image is our product. And if our image is not being put out into the world consistently, then people aren't going to see it and therefore they are not going to give us money. So it's like a
Well,
big
and
cycle.
the relevancy aspect.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about time, you know, like what was the word? I've totally forgot the word now. Um, hello, attention span, there it is.
Yes.
Like our attention span like is so like if I don't see somebody in my feed for a couple of weeks I may forget and then they'll pop up in my feed randomly and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot about this awesome. And it's not that I wanted to forget
Yeah.
about them or I didn't love their content, it's just that I'm consuming so much content all of the time
That's
that
true.
there's not enough space for everyone. So then because I do that, I know other people do that, so then I'm like, I have to make sure I'm posting. I don't want to take that week off because how many feeds will I fall out of?
Yeah. Yeah. And I can see that too. Like I've had that happen to me too, just because I follow like almost like 1,000 accounts or no, I follow way more than 1,000 accounts on Instagram. I think I follow multiple thousands of accounts. And
Yeah.
it's true. Like I won't remember somebody like they'll pop up on my feed and I'm like, oh yeah. So then maybe I'll go to their feed and see what they've been doing. And I've also had people commenting on my Facebook. I have my Facebook linked to my Instagram. So every time I post on Instagram, it just automatically posts on Facebook. And like I still get people that are like, wow, I haven't seen your post in forever. I didn't even think you were still doing cosplay. I'm just like, are you kidding? Like they
Yeah,
just
those feel
didn't
bad.
see it. And like I feel bad for being like, oh my gosh, of course I've still been but like if they don't see it, then how are they gonna know? So
Yeah. And why aren't they seeing it?
yeah.
Because the algorithm moved you out of their feeds without even I would love it if like at least there would be some kind of like reporting system. So maybe I log into my Facebook and it's like last week your reach was X percent lower because you fell out of X percentage of feeds because the algorithms did not perceive engagement, or like I just wish there you can't tell me that in this day and age that with all of these insights were provided that it couldn't also come with some like directions basically.
Yeah.
Like you may have
This,
noticed that your reach for the past month was lower. It's because your content wasn't engaging or less people clicked on your content because then when knowledge is power, if you have an image that does really well and you can figure out why that photo did really well, you can recreate that, right? And that's what agencies do. That's a huge part of what agencies do.
yeah.
But for the individual creator who is just self-employed, gathering all those insights and learning how to read those insights without any kind of like, you know, why basically, like no direction, no explanation. I mean, it leaves when people don't tell you, you'll fill the space yourself, right? So it's like you haven't told me why my content didn't do well, that post didn't do well, so I'm going to start assuming why, and it's probably not going to be good. It's probably going to be my brain going, it's because you're garbage and everybody hates your work and you're bad at everything you do and no one cares and you should just lay down on the floor and cry. Why don't you just quit? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
that's what you do. You filled the space.
Yep. Yeah, because because we get those kind of insights on our posts for those of you who don't know who are listening. But like Sophie said, it doesn't tell us why. So if I see that a selfie or whatever got every type of reach possible and a cosplay photo got zero reach, I assume it's because people don't care about my work. They just care about what my face looks like. Yeah. And since a pretty face is like more universally appealing, then that means more people want to see just a pretty face than a cool costume. And so you just keep like your brain just keeps going and drawing different conclusions based on what you see, like with just one piece of information that you take in.
And it also like creates this sort of like barrier for people. So I've been doing kind of like those marketing videos on YouTube, and I posted one in a cosplay group on Facebook, and immediately someone commented. There was the cosplay income one about building income as a creator.
Yeah.
And somebody immediately posted and was like, thanks for the video, but it doesn't matter what I do. It would never happen for me because I'm not pretty. And they started tearing themselves down.
No.
And it wasn't like, I don't have the skills or I don't have the passion or I'm not invested. It was none of that. It was, I love this. I'm passionate about this. I'm really good at this, but I'm just not pretty enough. And that is like, people can blame Instagram photoshopping all day. And I do agree that, realness is important on the internet. But I would argue that one of the biggest hits to people's like self-esteem and the way they view themselves, their self-image, is exactly what you just said, is the fact that like it's perceived that the more attractive your face alone, the better you will do on the internet. And that's not just people, that's the algorithms. Like, not looking for pretty faces, but people don't know that. All they know is that attractive selfies get a bunch of traction. It's usually just, the lighting on those selfies is really good. It's of good quality, but it doesn't look like that. Not everybody thinks the same way like I would think about it and dissects it that way. So you have people who just go, I'm not pretty enough. Like, I'm not pretty enough to be in this creative industry. And that sucks.
It's sad too. And I don't know. There's a lot of different things. There's also the lookalike phenomenon, to where
Mhm.
people, they don't want to make a costume because they don't look like the actress or actor or like
Yeah.
the video game model, because those always seem to do infinitely better online. Like people will be like, "Wow, that's such a good such and such cosplay," even if it's somebody wearing like a Mick costume, but their face
Mhm.
looks just like the actor that portrayed that character. And so that can discourage a
Yeah.
lot of people. Like I get discouraged from doing costumes where I think that they look different from my facial structure, or I don't think that I could make my face, like mold my face to look like the game model or whatever. And I don't know, it just kind of sucks. Like it's just another thing
Is
to
that
worry
directly
about.
related to how well you sorry.
Oh no, no,
Is
you're
that
good.
directly related to how well you think it'll do on social media though? Is that why? Because you
Um
see that do well on social media typically when they so like social media like that kind of thing has damaged your like perception of being able to do characters that don't look exactly like you.
Maybe. I don't know if it's like if I'm naturally inclined that way. I might be partially naturally inclined that way just
Yeah.
because of my, like, I'm kind of a recreationist in general with costumes. Like I like to just see something and recreate it. But I think I know that social media rewards that. Like they reward lookalikes a lot because they are the ones that go viral and get shared on like muggle websites that are like, this cosplay will blow your mind or whatever. um, so it's, I don't know, it's kind of hard
Muggle
because,
website.
yeah, they, because I know that there's a higher chance that that my costume will get more attention if I look more like the actress or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's affected me to the point where that's just how I think nowadays, and I just don't even consider costumes that I don't think that I could pull off in quotes um, with makeup or anything. It's weird.
Well, that's just a great example of how social media in general has changed the landscape of cosplay because it's like cosplay is for everyone. Anybody can cosplay anything. But are you cosplaying for hobby or are you trying to grow a following? Because now it's
Yeah,
not the community that's it's not me saying you have to do this and you're not a it's straight up like the algorithms and what they feed people.
yeah,
And
it's nuts.
that all goes back to like that echo chamber. Like if those listening haven't watched The Social Dilemma, please do. It really altered how I think of social media, probably in a positive way. In some ways, it allowed me to untie myself, not entirely, but a little bit. So like now, when like I can think about like everybody's in their own echo chamber. So if people of my following haven't seen my content for a long time, they're probably not going to see it. So it's not that they don't like my content or aren't invested. It's just like you said, you get those messages that are like, "Oh, I didn't even know you were still doing this. I didn't even know you were still posting." So clearly, I wasn't allowed. There was no space for me in that person's feed for a long time, and that is so wildly out of my control. Why should I allow it to damage me? I mean, I still do, but I am hoping the more I put that through my brain, the more I think of it that way, that eventually I can kind of retrain my brain to be like, you did the thing. You, as long as I'm proud of my work, I know the people who see it, like whatever.
Yeah.
But that is, especially when you see people manipulating the algorithm, because buying likes is a big thing again.
Oh,
And so
great.
that's, that we're headed back in that direction now. So it just, I can understand why people feel like social media is just such a damaging thing.
Yeah, it's true because, and I don't know, because I watched The Social Dilemma too, and I did get some of that out of it. It's just like, well, it's not me, it's them kind of thing,
Yeah.
like for the most part. But then it also made me feel kind of hopeless. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
well, this is how it is. I can't change it, can't do anything about it. And that kind of sucks. But
I
no, I wasn't gonna say anything.
I was just gonna say I do think that those manipulated algorithms that keep us in echo chambers, I do think those will go away. I don't know how long, but I think we'll get it to a point where there's regulations on them as the government moves further into social media, and I think that will be positive for us. I don't
Yeah.
think it'll keep moving in this direction because I don't think we can move any further in the restrictive direction without people just quitting, honestly. Um,
Yeah.
like there are so many people who are just so done with social media, and that's not what these companies or our government want. So I'm kind of the mindset that we're headed towards a place of change, and hopefully it's good change for us.
Yeah, hopefully. Um yeah, so how would you say, what are some ways that this whole thing has affected your brain personally? Because it's definitely affected my brain, but I'm wondering if we kind of line up on the effects that it's having on our mental health.
It's having pretty. So I think that I didn't realize the impact it was having on me until pretty recently, especially. So I feel like when shows were a thing before COVID, I focused so much on those and not as much on my social media that I was more balanced. And when they went away and I had to move to strictly digital, just over the last year, I've watched myself like in third person deteriorate. Just in so many areas of my mental health, like the thought of posting gives me anxiety, unless I have a post planned several days before. If I miss like my prime posting time, I get anxiety again. I think about like social media way more than I ever should. um I just feel bad. I feel like no matter how hard I work and no matter how much I love my work, that I'm worthless, and that my content is worthless, and I'm having like no impact. Like I guess it just feels very like it just gets to a place where when I get in that headspace, I just feel very much like what's the point? Like what's the point of any of it? Like if no one's going to see the things, if it's not going to work the way it's supposed to work, if it's not going to be social media, then what's the point? Because then I'm just sad.
Yeah.
What about you?
Um, I'd say it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess for those of you who don't know, I am diagnosed with depression. And so sometimes it'll kind of trigger, I don't want to say like episodes, but I know last January, I guess, after Christmas, from like January to like mid February, I think that was like one of my like really low spots or whatever. And I think it was due to like I have like I think I definitely get it worse in the winter time because there's no outside times and so my skin doesn't get to see the sun. And so that time period I don't even know what I was doing. I was just wasn't I don't think I even posted very much. Like I would go like days and days without posting anything and just like why would I even bother posting? Like my stuff isn't really great. Like it was great, but like how can I keep going like this? Every time I make something, it doesn't do anything. Like nobody seems to care, and I kind of felt like I was falling out of relevancy a little bit. And I started getting better a little bit, but like then the pandemic hit. And I'm not as reliant on the shows as you are for like a sense of purpose, I guess, in quotes. So
Yeah.
although like so I say that, but then I get sad when I don't get invites.
Yeah.
Which is
The
that's a
vicious
whole other
cycle.
the brain is just it's very confused. It doesn't know what it wants. Um and then like my Patreon, like during COVID, like my Patreon like dipped way down in like June or so. Like by June it was like half of what it was before. And was like, oh no, I'm not gonna be able
Yeah.
to make money like a livable wage. Like I do have um I'm not the sole income in our house. So it's kind of like well, I was hashtag blessed in that way. But
Yeah.
yeah. It was just kind of hard a little bit. I don't know. Streaming I would say helped me. And also um separating the sexy stuff from my Patreon has also helped a lot for some reason. I don't really know why, but
Good
that's done a
though.
lot. But I don't know. But I guess I don't really know what the whole point that I was trying to say is. But yeah, crafting or social media was just making me sad all the time.
Well,
And there's nothing I could
so
do to fix
okay,
it.
here's a question. Do you ever have like, so for me, it's kind of like it's like a vicious cycle because social media makes me the saddest, but it also makes me the happiest because it's like
Hmm.
when like I can connect with not just like my followers, but like my peers, and we're engaging with each other, and we're just, you know, doing sharing each other's content, and we're talking all the time, and we're doing stuff together, and you're just in this like flow, and you're like, this feels good. I feel a part of my community. I feel embedded in my community. I feel like I matter. And then that it's like a roller coaster, like you're in that space and then you end up in the polar opposite space where it's like
Yeah.
this week I was popping and then next week like you don't exist.
Yeah.
um yeah, that's it, it makes me feel trapped. I think that's the better word,
Yeah. I
because I want to be
definitely
in
see
this
that.
space because I love it, but I just always know when I'm at that peak that that low is coming. And
Hmm.
it's like, how do you prepare? I always try to like prepare for that low in my head and be like, it's fine, it's a roller coaster, but it doesn't make it any less garbage when you're there.
That's true. And I definitely feel that way. I think having, because social media has given me some of my best friends
Yeah.
right now. So it's kind of like, and it's nice to be able to talk to everybody like
Yeah.
daily. And it's great to have that kind of support system.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think a lot of people are in the same boat as us in that way. Like they kind of feel that roller coaster. Like one day they're just like, I'm done. I'm gonna throw it all away. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yep.
I never want to post on social media again. I don't want to like try and cater to anyone with my posts. I just want to
Yeah.
do what I want and no one can say anything about it. And then the next day you're just like, it's like something I'll do really well. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I have this. I'm so thankful or whatever. And then the
Yeah.
next day you're just like, oh, I'm trash. Hate everything. It's
This is the
hard.
worst. Well, that's I like I want to start doing more like kind of like we're gonna do today, like the crafters things. Because
Yeah.
even if those don't have a lot of viewership, like that doesn't matter to me in those moments because I'm with peers doing what we love and you can feel that energy. We're on camera together, you know, whether I said it's for an audience or whether it's like a private thing, like that's very fulfilling as well. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe during those low times, we need to be doing more of that. Because I do think it all goes back to community because that's what it is, right? You feel like you fell out of your community or like your
Mhm.
community isn't present all of a sudden, not just followers but peers. um, and so I try to think of that, and like I'm a social creature, and so when I feel like my community isn't present or I can't reach them, I immediately like start panicking. um,
Yeah.
like, oh, what? And you're right, I think a lot of people do feel this way, and I see some people on Twitter who like get super net because I think we all get negative sometimes. But if you let it like consume you, and then you also start like spouting that all over social media, like every post is just your despair for how you feel, and it doesn't matter how much people try to like build you back up. Like you're just like, no, this is garbage. I'm garbage every day forever. That can become a self-fulfilling prophecy because then people
Yeah.
are like scared to look at your socials because they just feel bad.
Yeah. And they think that, oh, I can't give them any more advice because every time I try, they're just like, I've tried that. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Just doesn't
Yeah.
work for me. It's just not going to happen for me or whatever. Like, you're lucky it can happen for you, but it's never going to happen for me. You're just like, well, I can't help you then. I just can't.
Yeah.
Like, and it'll start bringing other people down. Maybe you should try and fix whatever's going on in your brain from the inside out instead of relying on others to fix it for you because that doesn't help. It's only a band-aid.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. You got to be in control of that.
yeah. Yeah, self responsibility. I'm a big fan, an advocate of like self, is that the right word? Being responsible for yourself pretty much.
Yeah.
um I don't know, one thing that's really helped me in 2020 was going to therapy because I recognized that I was having trouble, like I was having a lot of trouble. So I figured, I'll just do it, I'll just try it out, see what happens. And it's been really nice. Like it's nice to be able to talk to somebody who she's familiar kind of with our with social media. She knows what Patreon is. She knows what all that stuff is. And so, like, I've talked about other
Yeah.
things too, but I have talked a little bit about the social media stuff. And it does help. It's not like a cure-all, obviously. But I think it might be a good idea to try and do some things to help yourself by on your own to
Yeah.
help
I, you can pair
kickstart it, I
that with
guess.
other things. Yeah.
Yes. It can be a supplement. Like, I know it's hard because a lot of people are just like, oh, it's like if you're feeling bad, just take a break, just go outside. It's gonna fix everything. Go do some
No.
self-care or whatever. And while that's great, like it's good to take care of yourself. You should always be taking that should be like a necessity. Like self-care shouldn't be like a luxury. That's something that you need to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's hard because and I can't say that going outside doesn't help because it really does for me, but it doesn't fix things. All it can do really is provide like kind of like a distraction while I don't know. I don't really know what I'm trying to say. But it's harder than just
No, I get where.
just do this list of things and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, and everybody, the formula for everyone is so different, right? So,
Yeah.
like, I know that for me, it all comes down to like engaging with my, like, when I'm having a really low week and then I have a stream, immediately after that stream, I'm on like a high. Like, I'm all pumped up
Mm,
because I got that time with my community and with my peers where I felt like we were connecting and engaging and we're talking. So like for me, that's part of the puzzle that is Sophie, right? Whereas for someone else, like I know plenty of people who streaming exasperates that
yeah.
feeling for them. So it's all about like finding, I think, the formula that's right for your brain. But I think that what like we're doing right now and what I see a lot of people doing on Twitter, and I hope it continues, but discussing this, you can't talk about this too much. Um,
Right.
I just think that there's so many people who are afraid to discuss it. And there's that fear too, like especially if you talk about I know I experience this. I'm curious if you do. But if I talk about how social media gives me the sads when things aren't doing well or how much the reach like bums me out or whatever it may be, like I'm always so scared that'll give people the perception that I'm only interested in likes, I'm only interested in exposure, I'm only interested in money. When that's not the case, it just bums me out when the people who've chosen to follow me don't get to see the stuff I've made. But sometimes I get afraid to bring that up because there are people who will perceive that as well they're only interested in growing their following or getting likes and that certainly isn't the case. But I think that we're also lying to ourselves, a lot of us, not all, if we say that like likes and follows don't make us feel good.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think it's easy sometimes for people to look at somebody like expressing frustration over that kind of thing as being like ungrateful or whatever, like, oh, you're not grateful that we're following you, like you wouldn't even be
Yeah.
as far as you are without us or whatever. And
Yeah.
it can be easy to write people off like that, but it's everybody gets concerned about that kind of thing. Like it's natural and it's normal for somebody to want attention. Humans want attention. And I don't think it's a bad thing
Yeah.
as long as you're not hurting anybody else to want attention. Like I wouldn't post myself online if I didn't want attention for what I make. And I think it's okay to want to
Yeah.
grow and make money. Like it's okay to want to make money. Like people act like once you
Yeah.
want to bring in some income that you're a sellout or whatever. But no, I think it's great when people want to monetize their hobby. Like if they want to, like you don't have to,
Yeah.
of
I
course,
mean, that's
but
the dream.
it's not like a sin to want money. Everybody wants money.
Yeah. Well, and everybody wants to love what they do for a living, right?
Yeah.
And we live in such a unique time in our world where what we do is viable, as a full-time job. And unfortunately, that is a lot contingent upon numbers and reach, not
Yeah.
even because of patron OnlyFans, but because of companies. I mean, I know that there's the rise of micro influencers, and I think that's awesome. But the reason there's a rise in micro influencers where companies want to work with people with a smaller following is because they perceive the engagement to be higher. So it all comes back to numbers anyway.
So I know you said that streaming and like hanging out with your community kind of brings you back in full circle. Is that like the main thing that helps you kind of feel more secure, I guess, in quotes? Or is there anything else that you do that can kind of help with the feelings when you're feeling down about social media?
I definitely think that that's one of the main things, but I that also consumes time.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to have things that make me feel better that don't also consume as much time. And I think one of those things I struggle with the most is just putting the social media down and just sitting down for a moment and like telling myself like it really doesn't matter right now. Like I'm not doing well in my head, so I need to not worry about this, and sort of forcibly removing myself from the situation, because otherwise I get into like these tizzies where I'm like trying to fix it, right? I'm like, oh, I feel bad, so I need to, oh, do I stream or should I post right now or do I do, and I like go into like this problem solving mode that just ends up like giving me anxiety.
Yeah.
So sometimes another thing that really helps that I need to do more of, because I always kind of like forget this helps, but taking time to go to other people's profile, like not to worry about my profile, to go to like your profile or other creators and comment on their stuff and get lost in other people's content for a bit, so I'm not
Yeah.
so like stuck in mine. Like that is definitely one of the big, because then I feel like I'm connecting, right? Whether they respond or not, I feel like I'm at a convention going from person to person going, you look awesome, your costume's great, or it
Yeah.
just that helps. So removing myself, engaging with other content, and streaming all help. However, I would argue that like that doesn't help every time either. Like
Mm-hmm.
some days you're just too in it and nothing helps. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
What about
agree.
you? What is something that helps you pull
Um,
out of it or pull away from it?
I would say so. It's the funny thing is, so I'm a classic introvert, as I think maybe we all know by now. But so usually doing too much, like when I'm feeling things like that, I tend to withdraw into wherever. Like I just
Yeah.
withdraw away from people. Like I'm like, well, I'm feeling bad. They don't want to talk to me when I'm feeling bad. I don't want to like bring anything else negative to the table. And I just want to sit and wallow in my sadness. But
Yeah.
the thing is, like, I feel like streaming now does help me a little bit. Like, for some reason, so I streamed, for those of you who don't know, I streamed a couple years ago and I used to only stream crafting and it just wore me out. Like, I would stream for like 2 hours and I'd be just done for the week. Like, I would stream once a week for like 2 hours. That's it. And I just could not do anything more than that. But this past September, I started streaming again. Like I had stopped for about 2 years, and I started streaming again in September. And I got a gaming PC set up in December. And since doing that, I feel like that's helped me a lot for some reason. I don't really know why, but I just feel a lot better about it. And I find that it gives me energy, sort of like after I'm done, I'm kind of like pumped up a little bit. So that does help.
Yeah.
Putting,
That like
yeah,
high.
putting, yeah, it's like I can't, I found that I can't stream too close to bedtime or else I won't be able to sleep. Cause I'll just be like, my heart rate will be too high. And I'll just be like laying in bed, like, oh, I can't sleep because I still have energy and I still want to like get up and do things, but I can't because I have to go to sleep. So I usually stream during the day. Um, so another thing that helps is also, like you said, putting the social media down.
Yeah.
It's hard though because
Yeah.
it's just addicting. It's so addicting, and I wish I've I don't know. It's been really bad. Like the past year or so, it's really hard to like not just scroll for hours and hours and not get any work done. So this year, I decided to implement work hours, like office
Ooh.
hours and weekends. So what I'm trying to do is I'm only checking or and responding to stuff on social media on weekdays from like maybe like 9 to 5 or so, because I just found that I was letting my social media usage like spread all throughout the day, all throughout the night. I was like editing photos at like 10 p.m. and while I was watching a movie with Casey, and it was just, it's a lot. Like I felt like I was never out of work. Like I was always
Yeah.
working, and I would feel guilty if I wasn't working. Like even on weekends,
Yeah.
like if I wasn't doing something, or if I like people would message me at like 10 p.m. on like a Friday night, and I'd feel like I had to respond. But I kind of decided this year that I was just gonna make myself not accessible for certain time periods for my mental health. Like it's helped me a lot so far. Like I'm not perfect at it. Like I still slip up, but I've been trying to at least cut back on the weekend usage and cut off all usage of, like, I won't check OnlyFans messages. I won't look at emails past like 5 p.m. so I can get everything done during the day. And then it kind of makes me feel less guilty about not working in the evenings. So,
Really? Maybe I need to try that. I always say I'm going to do things like that, and then I don't. Because I'm like, well, I'm just sitting here watching a movie. Why not edit a photo?
yeah.
But I don't think that I think well enough, or why not do a post or scroll through? But I think that I don't, because in the moment I don't perceive that as damaging me in any way. But long term, it probably is. Um,
Yeah.
so that's something I need to get better at.
Like even I find that even just having that, like you have to kind of give yourself permission, I guess,
Yeah.
to not work, and just having that thing like, okay, so I work 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, and it's okay for me, like if I see an email notification, like it's kind of freeing thinking like, oh, I can wait till tomorrow to look at that. And
Yeah.
like I don't have to look at it today, because if I look at it, I'm going to feel like I need to respond to it, and I don't like
Yeah.
respond.
Deal
And
with it in
then
the moment.
yeah, and then it kind of sets a precedent that you're not at people's beck and call all hours of the night. So, because I've had people message me on like a Friday night, and by Monday morning they're just like, "Hey, I didn't get a response to my message, so I'm just making sure you got it." And it's just like, I don't work weekends, like business
Yeah.
hours. I don't know. I
So
just
do you
found that
not check social media either?
I try not to. Like sometimes I'll like by habit I'll like open it up, and I'm just like, oh wait, nope, nope. Like I'm getting better at not doing it. I'm getting better at just not looking at it. I can look at my personal Instagram on weekends, and I can upload pictures to that one because that's like for me, and it's just like a photo diary. It's nothing crazy. So, but yeah. So
Yeah.
on weekends I just do not. I try to not check or post, and it's been pretty nice. Like it frees me up to like do things, like if we're hiking or something, I'm not checking my phone right when we get back to the car. Like I have my phone with me to take pictures, but I'm just like, okay, I got to
Yeah.
take pictures, and I'm not going to be looking at Instagram while we're on the trail. um or
Yeah.
or thinking about emails or whatever. It's just kind of freeing. And I know it's probably harder for some people to separate it, but I feel like as it's only been like 2 months, but or I guess almost 3 months. But I found that as time went on, as I kept like giving myself permission to not check it or not have to respond, like I'm not obligated to these people to respond to them until tomorrow, because this is like all most businesses have hours, like we'll get back to you within the next business day. And so it's okay for me to have business days
Yeah.
because this is a job and this is a business. And so I'm just kind of
Yeah.
modeling it after other businesses. I don't know. I think sometimes people can think that because you're on social media that they can just message you whenever and they'll get a response right away, because that is
Yeah.
what happens a lot of times. And I definitely have done that before too. Like somebody will message me at 9 p.m. and I'm just like, oh no, I have to respond because I've already seen it and stuff. But now if I don't even look, like I'll just see it on Monday morning. Or even if I see like a little message notification on Instagram, like in the corner, I'm just like, well, not looking at it till tomorrow. Like it's kind of, I know it might be harder for some people, but I also, I don't like looking at things that that I don't want to look at. So it's kind of like the thing where I don't look at like Reddit comments or anywhere that I can't, that I don't have control over.
Oh
So I've
yeah.
kind of just, I've transferred that mentality over like, okay, I'm not going to look at it because I don't want to respond to it. So I'm going to wait and do it tomorrow morning when I'm more energized and I'm more in a work mode. I'm not in the middle of like yard work responding to emails. Like that's just not healthy. And it gives me more time to hang out with, like spend like quality time with people, like with Casey. Like it sucks to like be checking my emails at the dinner table because it's unfair to Casey for me to just be on my phone all the time because I don't like when he's on his phone all the time.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's a very valid point. I will say, like, I guess yesterday, so like, because Sam's days off are Tuesdays through Thursdays, and I stream Tuesday and Thursday evenings. So yesterday and one day last week, even I did make an effort when we woke up to be like, you know what? Like yesterday, for instance, I was like, my workday is going to start at 3. So I'm gonna at 3 o'clock start working on some cosplay stuff. So that way, by the time I start streaming at 7:30 until 9:30, I feel like I got some work done, and then I can go into my stream and hang out with my community. And I will say that I felt really good. Like that
good.
I didn't even it didn't even occur to me to carry that forward. But now that you have said that, that does make sense. Did your therapist help you come up with like has she talked to you about social media and anxiety and any of that? Like is that something like if you're comfortable, I'm just saying in general, is that something you guys discuss and she's giving you any helpful tools for, or did you have to find the tools yourself?
I kind of, I think we talked a little bit about it. I think I pitched to her the idea of the business hours, and because I did talk to her about how I felt like social media was just kind of taking over my brain, and it was kind of making me just unhappy. I was like comparing myself to other people, and like I was like fighting with like jealousy kind of stuff, like we were talking about. So I guess I guess kind of. I think it was like both. Like I kind of got a little bit from from her and then I kind of thought of my own ideas a little bit as well. Like, it was kind of a mix.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely glad. It's like it's worked out really well so far. Um so I think that's all we have for today. We were having some technical issues, so hopefully they don't come through. But I think we got some good conversation in.
Yes.
It's been definitely a lot of feelings, and like I apologize we don't have just like a list of solutions that will fix everything, but
Yeah, man.
we, I mean, if we had that then we wouldn't have all these problems. We would just
I
be fine. But yeah, I think it's definitely something that's worth exploring and talking about more in our community. I think
I
that
would
it's
love
a
to talk
subject.
about this more.
Yeah, I think it would be really nice to have more open discussions. I feel like our community needs that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So I guess follow us on our social medias. April
Yes.
Gloria everywhere. Just search my name and you'll find me.
Oh, my
Patreon.
Sophie everywhere. Same.
Yep. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, OnlyFans, Patreon, Twitch, YouTube. And we also have social media
All the places.
accounts for the podcast as well. We have Hot Glue and Bobby Pins on Instagram, and we have HGBP podcast on Twitter. So after all this like complaining
Ooh,
about
please do
social
a follow.
media, you're just like follow us on our social medias, please. Give us validation and attention.
Complain about it, but we love it.
Yeah. We're just stuck in the cycle
Um,
like everybody else.
as an Trapped. As an aside, I just wanted to say before we wrap it up that there were probably some parts where I was like smiling and you were saying stuff that people aren't supposed to smile at. I just want to tell everyone out there that I probably couldn't hear her at that time. So I was just trying to like wait for the audio to come back. I promise I'm
Yeah.
not mean.
Our well, yeah, same here because our audio and video kept getting warbly, so I guess
Yeah.
we'll find out how it looks in the end. But
Yes.
find our other episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us 5 stars, nothing less. Thank you. Um, and we will be seeing you all later. So have a good rest of your week,
Submit
everybody.
any ideas you have
Yes.
for
Submit all
episodes.
ideas. And we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.